Hey everyone, this is Megan with Left in Knots, and today I'm going to share the fourth and final video tutorial in my corner to corner crochet tutorial series. This is filmed as a resource for my Fallen Arrows blanket crochet along, a free pattern that you can find on my blog, www.leftinknots.com. But you can also use this information for any corner to corner or C2C project that you wish to make. So last time we covered how to crochet corner to corner decrease rows, which brought the shape of our project down to a rectangle or a square, depending on what you're working on. And now today I'm going to show you how to add single crochet edging to your blanket, as well as show you how to crochet this spike stitch border that I have on mine. And this is obviously just a little sample swatch here, but this is what the border around my Fallen Arrows blanket looks like. So let's get started. When I single crochet around my half double crochet corner to corner stitches, I work 5 stitches per 2 squares. So in the example of your Fallen Arrows blanket, that means your first round of border stitches, you will have 125 single crochets along this short side of the blanket, and 162 single crochets along this long side of the blanket. Again, this is obviously quite smaller than the actual blanket itself. But the reason that your long ends aren't a multiple of 5 is because you have 65 squares on this long side of your piece. And so you're just going to work 2 extra stitches into the last, or into your extra square that you have on that side. If you're just doing a simple single crochet border, this isn't terribly important to note as long as you're crocheting an even number of stitches on each side. But if you plan on doing this spike stitch border like I have in my sample, it's going to be very important because we definitely need to keep track of stitch counts for these spikes to work out in the right places. So keeping that in mind, here I am at the end of crocheting my last square in this little swatch. So I slip stitched into this chain 2 space here. Now I'm going to get my hook back in there, and I'm going to work in the direction of my nearest corner. So that's this one over here. So since I'm left-handed, I'm going to flip my project. If you're right-handed, it might end up looking a little different, but you're going to be working in just this last square. There is no right or wrong side of your corner to corner project at this time yet until we add the edging, so it won't matter. So now I'm going to chain 1. And since this is my long side with those extra, or with that 1 extra square, I'm only going to work 2 stitches into this square. So that's single crochet stitches. So 1, 2. And so now that I did those 2 single crochets, I'm just going to chain 2 at the corner to turn it. And then my short edge of the piece has an even number of squares. And so that means I'm going to work 5 stitches per set of 2 squares. So I like to work 3 into the, I like to work 2 into the chain 2 spaces, and then 3 in the tops of the half double crochet stitches that you already have there. And that gives us 5. You don't have to do it that way as long as you're working 5 stitches evenly across that space. It doesn't really matter where you work them. Some of the spaces get a little bit tight. So there's another 2, and then 1, 2, 3. So now I'm at another corner here. So again, I chain 2 for my corner. And remember again, this is going to be, your long side is an odd number of stitches, or an odd number of squares. So I'll just work 5 stitches per 2 squares, and then in this last stitch I'll just work 2 more single crochet stitches. So now I'm to this last square, so I'm just going to work 2 more stitches into that space. Chain 2 again, and I'm going to continue working around just like that. So I've got this short end left here where I'll do 5 per set of 2, and then I'll finish up. Remember, on this side I had my 2 stitches here already, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares to left to work into, and so I'll put 5 stitches in each of those sets of 2. Okay, so now I'm back to where I started. I have 1 row of single crochet edging around my entire rectangle. So I'm just going to slip stitch back into that first single crochet of the round. And if you just want to add a single crochet border, you can stop there, or you can also continue maybe for an extra round or 2. I always think it looks nice to do at least 2 rounds of a single crochet border. That's just my preference. 1 certainly finishes off the piece nicely too. But if you want to go into a second or more rounds, it's easier because you don't need to work into the sides of your corner to corner stitches. You just work in the stitches that you have there previously. And the only kind of tricky part is working into those chain 2 corners. So I'll show you what that looks like. So to start your next round of border, you chain 1. You're going to single crochet in your stitches around. So those here, you can see that was 1 stitch, that was 2 stitches. Now I'm at my border. This is my corner. This is my chain 2 of my corner here. So I'm going to work into that space with 1 single crochet stitch. I'm going to chain 2 again, work another single crochet stitch into this chain 2 space. You can see my finger through there. And now your next stitch is going to go into your first stitch across here, which is this space right here. And it kind of seems like you would want to go into that one because this one kind of blends in with the corner. Don't go into this stitch. Make sure you go in here, because otherwise you're skipping a stitch and that can skew the shape of your piece. So I'll show you that one more time at the next corner. Like I said, this part's easier because you just get to single crochet across. So now this is my last stitch here of this short side. Now this is my chain 2 space that I'll be working into next, right there. So single crochet, make your new chain 2, single crochet back through that chain 2 space, and then work into this first stitch here with your next single crochet. So you can essentially keep going around and around like that as many times as you want to make your border. And so in the Fallen Arrows blanket, this is just my sample swatch, but you can see we have several rows of that single crochet border, and then we go along to add this border with the spike stitches. So I'm gonna take a break to finish up this little swatch, and then I'll come back and show you how to get started on these spike stitches. Okay, so if you're doing the Fallen Arrows blanket border with the spike stitch, you're going to continue those single crochet rounds around your piece so that you get this nice wide border. And so I'm at the end of my 6th round, and then I'm going to slip stitch and actually cut my yarn, tie it off, and we'll pretend I wove those ends in. So now you're going to take your second color in the Fallen Arrows blanket. That's the really pretty mulberry bush color in my sample, or in my example. And you're actually going to take this and attach it in one of your chain 2 corners. And the reason I like to start this second color in a corner instead of continuing from the middle of your border here is just because it gives it a little cleaner look than starting in the middle of a spike stitch series. So I'm going to start along as though I was working across one of the short sides of the project. I'll take my yarn and I'll attach it with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that corner like you normally would. Now on this short end, I'm going to work 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm going to start my spike stitch repeats. And so that is single crochet, short spike, and that's just what I'm calling it in the pattern. So a short spike stitch is just like a single crochet stitch, but instead of working into this space like we normally would, we're going to go down 1 row and finish off our single crochet like that. Now the next one's going to be a long spike. So again, it'll work just like a single crochet stitch. A normal single crochet stitch would be worked here. Our short spike was worked into this second row down. We're going to go all the way down 3 rows. So I'm going to work into this space here for my long spike. And then I'm going to do another short spike. So remember, that's just 1 row down. And then a single crochet. So this right here is the spike stitch repeat. And so I'm going to do 1 more of those along this side. Single crochet, short spike, 1, 2, 3 for the long spike, and just 1 down for the short spike, and then single crochet. Now I'm going to do 5 more single crochets to get back to that next corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in my corner again, I'm going to do the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now on my long side, the count is just different by 1 stitch. Instead of working 5 single crochets, I'm going to work 6 single crochets to my first spike repeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's that same repeat. So it starts with a single crochet, then we drop down 1 row for the short spike, And then 1, 2, 3 rows for the long spike, and then 1 row down for the short spike, and a single crochet. And now we can repeat that series of stitches one more time. So single crochet, short spike, long spike, short spike, single crochet, and now we can single crochet back to this corner. So again, that's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then turn your corner with a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and repeat that process for your next 2 edges. So I finished my spike stitches along all 4 of my sides of my piece. Now I'm going to take and slip stitch back into the first single crochet of that corner I started in. And the very last round is just another round of single crochet in your second color. You could certainly add more if you wanted to make that a little bit wider stripe. The way the pattern is written, it's just 1 extra round of that second color. So you can see that'll make it just a little bit wider in relation to your first color that you used in that border. Again, this is what it looks like with the yarns used in the Fallen Arrows blanket, which you can find on my blog, www.leftinknots.com. All 4 parts of this pattern are now posted, so you can make this blanket from start to finish, whether you're just finding this project now or whether you've been crocheting along with me along the way. I hope you check it out. I have a lot of other free patterns there too. Thank you so much for crocheting along with me. This has been so fun, and I hope you all love your Fallen Arrows blankets.